Okay, everyone. I'm actually about a minute early here, but you know, better early than late, I suppose. With some weeks with my schedule, obviously, I can't predict when I'll be able to get started. I'm just waiting for the thing to kick in so I can knock out the sound good. There we go. Otherwise, as you all are aware, I end up having the ads roll, and it's a little disturbing. So we're about to kick off. I did want to lead in with something you guys might not be thinking about. This next week is the election week in the U.S. and you know, especially with the recent shit coming out about Hillary, the Satanism, and the child pornography and pedophilia and whatnot that's coming out. This is election period. Now, I don't want to make this a political video, but I do want to drop something that you all might not be thinking about, something that occurred to me, and that is, win or lose, no matter who wins this election, if you're in the US specifically, you might want to stock up on groceries, like a couple weeks worth of groceries or something in your house, your apartment, what have you, just in case shit goes kind of weird, like riots. And in fact, I really know what to expect. This has been a very strange election period, but I thought I'd advise you all that just so you could be safe, be prepared. It always is useful to be prepared. I don't know what to expect. It could be, nothing could happen at all, but I figured I'd put that out there because I don't want to see any of you get caught in a situation where you're undersupplied and underprepared. So, you know, maybe buy a couple weeks worth of groceries just to keep you guys, if you're in the US, just in check in case shit goes kind of fucked up with the elections, because of the elections. Anyway, moving along from political shit, I want to get to the questions now. So let's get started. Okay, the questions are already rolling in, everyone. Hey there, you made a video about a study comparing two rates of fat loss. How was the slow reduction group able to gain so much muscle, about a pound per month, when they were elite athletes already? That study was very interesting, and to be perfectly honest with you, even to this day, I'm not really sure entirely why they recomped. We have a better understanding due to a second study that came out that it seems to have something to do with protein intake. There was another study with less calories, actually, versus another group that had also less calories, but one of the groups had a higher protein intake, the other one had a smaller amount of protein intake, and both were training. The group with the higher protein intake recomped. Now, not as shockingly as that other study that you're referring to here, but they still recomped. So I believe that what seems to be important is maintaining a positive nitrogen balance in a slight caloric deficit to bring upon a recomp. Now, I don't advise really sharp caloric drops, and I've said this time and again, I don't like people starving themselves. You don't need to starve yourself to get lean. A very slight, modest deficit is perfectly fine. And that's really about it. Of course, you got to train, you got to sleep, and your macros have to be spot on. But there's no need to starve yourself. And training also will help you lose weight. The combination of training, that means weights and cardio as well as your diet. So it doesn't have to be a severe deficit. So don't starve yourselves, guys. Do you have any comments about the safety of creatine? Have you seen Vegan Gains' video on it? I've heard him make comments about it on Omar, about the previous video he did about Omar Isuf. Worst of the supplement industry or something. It seems to be hit or miss. Now, if you drink enough water, creatine is, its mode of transport is water. That's how it gets into the muscle, so it stores in the muscle tissue as well, which is why creatine stores better when you're using a supplement like ALA, which is alpha lipoic acid, along with carbohydrates, because that will also pull water into your muscle, the glycogen. So, but if you're drinking plenty of water, you shouldn't have any kidney or liver issues with that. They've done research on creatine for over 20 years. It's pretty long-term research, even on children, going up as high as 25 grams intake a day for long periods of time without noticing any health compromises. Now, I'm not saying that there are people out there that already have existing sensitivities. If you have an existing problem, you don't want to exacerbate that. That's really my thoughts on the creatine situation. Now, I haven't watched his latest video. I don't have a lot of time. I would like to catch up on some videos, and I like Richard's channel. But that's my take on that. So just ensure you follow the dosing directions. You don't need to overdo it. Drink plenty of water with it. In fact, a lot of the creatine products will tell you to consume at least 8 ounces of water per like 2.5 grams, I think you intake. So 16 ounces with like 5 gram scoop. And that really that shouldn't. I haven't seen any real data showing any negative effects on creatine aside from the potential risk to kidneys if you're just underhydrated. But of course, I'll watch this video and see if there's anything else worth commenting on. Anyway, and also, this is an anecdote, but I've been using creatine for, God, like 6 years, 7 years or something, nonstop, up to 20 grams a day. My blood works fine. I've never had a kidney problem, never had kidney stones, knock on wood. That I don't know. But that's anecdote. So don't just use my example as like the end all be all for this. So let's move along here. What are the risks of consuming aspartame? Aspartame is something I avoid when there are plenty of sweeteners you can use that are not chemically derived, lab created, in other words. So aspartame seems to have effects on people getting headaches and whatnot. There is some loose research showing that it's a carcinogen, but I believe that the intake amounts to make it carcinogenic would have to be profoundly high. Now keep this in mind too. If you're somebody who eats a lot of products that contain things like aspartame, you may be accumulating a lot of aspartame throughout a day that you may not be aware of and putting yourself at risk. I just avoid it altogether. I don't think a little bit's going to hurt you, because it is food grade, and the FDA has laws that are in place to for food grade products. But I would just avoid it anyway. You don't need aspartame. If you can stomach the taste of stevia, go with stevia. Monk fruit can act as a sweetener as well. Something I recently realized is glycine, the amino acid glycine. Of sweet. It's the principal amino acid in sugar, and it's actually kind of sweet, but it's a quick sweet kick. So you might even try glycine as a sweetener, which is an amino acid, L-glycine. You don't need, or you just don't use sweeteners at all. You don't need to use aspartame. Favorite healthy, tasty vegan meal. My personal favorite of late has been, I like pan frying some extra firm tofu in coconut oil with broccoli florets, and I will sprinkle that with like salt, the sea salt, and it's fucking fantastic. It sounds so basic, but it's actually so very good, and I really like it because it just the coconut oil kind of adds this flavor and thickness and creaminess to it, along with the salt. It almost takes on the flavor of like popcorn. It's the best way to describe it. And believe it or not, the broccoli kind of takes on a French fries kind of flavor. I don't do anything special beyond just the coconut oil, the salt, the broccoli, the tofu, and that's it. And I pan fry it. What to eat for strong hair? Well, you want to ensure you're getting enough fat in your diet. You want to ensure you're getting enough protein in your diet. You're getting enough antioxidants in your diet. Those will all go a long way to promoting healthy hair and skin, nails, and everything else, as well as health in general. But if we're talking about hair here, so during IF, how long should you keep up a deficit? Good stuff, bro. When it comes to doing intermittent fasting, I prefer to do intermittent fasting using a caloric deficit. Otherwise, that final meal is a nightmare, because usually it's about 80% of your daily calories are in that final meal. And it can be daunting if you're eating like a surplus. Even a very small, modest surplus can be daunting because of just how fucking big that final meal will be. So I prefer IF for cutting personally. And I find that it keeps hunger at bay very well. Not as well as ketogenic dieting does. Now, you can do IF while keto dieting, but using a keto approach, I find, is the most satiating diet when you're cutting. But yeah, so for IF, I would stick with your deficit or maintenance at most. When gaining strength on your first year of training, should I be in a caloric surplus so I can gain muscle as well? Yeah, but you don't need to be in a large one, like 10, 20% of your maintenance needs. Go just about a little bit above. No need to freaking overdo it. You'll get fat. So, what are your thoughts on THC for recreation and THC CBD for therapeutic purposes, or just on marijuana in general? I actually didn't even know what that was at first when you mentioned it. To be honest, I don't know a lot about drugs, but marijuana, obviously, I know that. I avoid marijuana. I avoid all drugs. I don't drink alcohol. I don't intake anything that I consider a toxin or a poison in my body in that sense. Marijuana has been shown in some research to lower testosterone. In other research, it shows no effect on testosterone. Now, you could say, like, what was the difference? I don't know. There's probably controlled differences in the study. But the fact that any study showed a drop in testosterone values on weed makes it not really something I'd be interested in partaking in. And it's the same with alcohol. But alcohol has a lot of solid research on why it's no good. So the way I look at it is you don't need marijuana. You don't need alcohol. You don't need other drugs. So why take them? Just try to live a healthier life and don't do things that are going to like put obstacles in front of you on your way to your goals. What do you think about Alan Aragon debunked the myth about protein and kidney harm, but in the same article, he's telling that red meat don't cause cancer? The recent research has come out about red meat does label it as a potential carcinogen, whereas bacon is actual carcinogen. I've seen what you're talking about when he was talking about this is a while ago, so this is before a lot of this new research has surfaced. Now, what he's talking about with the kidney harm from protein, that is based on a very old, poorly conducted piece of research, and I've not seen anything come out since that really shows that high protein intake actually affects the body in a negative way. In fact, there's been studies on incredibly high protein intake. We're talking about like 2 grams per pound of body weight for long, or 2.5 grams per pound of body weight for long stretches of time, that actually showed higher metabolic rate, better body composition, and no ill effects on health. And there's been a couple of these studies. I believe Jose Antonio led these studies that have been in the last couple of years that have come out. So now, that being said, if you're somebody who is predisposed to kidney problems, like with creatine, you don't want to do anything that could potentially exacerbate an existing issue. But if you're generally and otherwise healthy, you shouldn't have a problem with high protein intake. Now, there's no real need to go up to 2 grams of protein. I usually only recommend about 1 gram per pound of body weight based on the research that I've seen in all of the nutrition texts, as well as the additional needs for vegans that I've seen put out there as well in nutritional texts. So about 1 gram per pound of body weight is what I recommend per day for a vegan who is specifically involved in muscle building or strength sports. Endurance, you don't need as much, or just an average person, the RDA is fine. On the benefits of green tea versus coffee, plus in addition to your greatly missed favorite bodybuilding food series. I actually thought about that series the other day, and yes, I'll be getting to doing more of that series. It's overdue for a new installment. So, what do I think of Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen? I like Dr. Greger. I actually have read through his book, How Not to Die. It's a good book for general health as a vegan. Now, it's not necessarily going to be applicable to bodybuilders. You might need to obviously adjust up in certain macros as a bodybuilder. And also just your needs will be larger in general if you have a larger body mass. Somebody who weighs $150 versus somebody who weighs 200 pounds, they're going to have, and we're talking about lean muscle here or lean tissue in general, LBM, are going to have different daily requirements, not just in calories, but in vitamins, minerals, and et cetera, et cetera. So keep that in mind too. But I think it's a great book and great for vegan health. And it's definitely a book to add to your library, that book. And so I approve of that. Does intermittent fasting reduce gains by 5% or so? I've not heard that before. Now, bear in mind, if you are in IF with a deficit, you're not going to make as many gains as you will if you're bulking, like a slight surplus. Even recomp diets are slow. That's why they're recomp. You're losing fat while building a little muscle at the same time. And it's a very slow process, because you're trying to do 2 things at once. So surplus is obviously going to be a faster way to do it. But IF itself inherently isn't going to reduce your muscle mass unless you're just not getting enough protein, you're not eating enough calories, and your other macros are off, and your training is off somehow as well. A lot of meat eaters say that if vegans care about animals, then why are we eating their foods? What's your rebuttal on this? That is an absurd argument. Meat eaters say a lot of really absurd things to try and find some way to I guess, justify what they continue to do. There's no label saying that food, that the greens and fruits are just for the animals of the planet. There's enough to go around, especially with agriculture, human agriculture, for our food needs. There's enough to go around, really, and that's an absurd argument that we're eating their food. It's actually not even worth replying to. So I almost feel like it's a fucking troll argument. It's just not even worth replying to. But I've heard worse. So, where do gains come from? The gain stork? I don't know. I just wake up sometimes and I'm a little heavier, day by day by day by day. I don't know. Just lift weights and eat food, and you'll get bigger. There's, your protein, your muscles will synthesize from the protein you take. What do you think of Alpha Destiny as training methods? I don't really watch Alpha Destiny. I don't even know if I know who he is, to be honest. I've heard that name before. I don't really watch a lot of YouTube, believe it or not. I do watch Vegan Gains now and then, but my schedule is so bad with so much that I have to do and on my plate, that I just don't have a lot of time for other YouTube channels. But I try to catch up where I can to the ones that I do like. Yeah, that's my take on that. That's why my thoughts on that. So I don't have a thought on Alpha Destiny. What is my name? What is my quest? And what is my favorite color? My name is Cory. My quest is to be a muscular vegan and set an example for vegans, for people who might not even be vegan also, and just try to inspire, help, educate. That's my approach. I don't want to belittle people for not being vegan, or rather I want to educate. And what is my favorite color? My favorite color, it's a toss-up. Long-standing color is blue, but in recent years, purple has sort of become a favorite color of mine. But I would say it's a toss-up between blue and purple, but I really like blue. I have a long-term love for the color blue. How much vitamin D should I take since I am deficient? Wow. Okay, well, I don't know off the top of my head what the D intake is for women, because I can see you're a girl. I think you could go up to about 2,000 IUs per day and be pretty safe. But I would go on Google and search what the recommended daily intake is for a female, because I don't want to, off the top of my head, inform you wrong. Now, I know it's difficult to OD on vitamin D. It's very difficult to OD on vitamin D. And I've discussed this in previous videos, but it doesn't mean you should take wild dosages that are unnecessary per day either. So I'd check on Google for the RDI for women. But yeah, definitely, if you are truly deficient, do that. You don't want to be deficient in D. Bad for so many reasons. You're feeling dizzy sometimes. Possible reasons. I'm not a doctor. I don't want to diagnose somebody. Vertigo can be caused by so many different things. I would go to your doctor, get your blood checked, see if you're deficient in something. If it's from lifting or something, maybe you're not breathing well enough. I'm not a doctor. I don't want to broach this. How do you keep testosterone high during IF with a deficit? That's not really the problem with dropping testosterone. The deficit's not going to cause a testosterone deficiency. It's your fat intake. Don't let your fat intake go too low, and don't bring your body fat percentage down below like 8 to 10% either, and ensure you're training. You're constantly training, and you're keeping your strength up. And have sex, masturbate, preferably have sex, because I think that there's been studies that have shown that sex actually elicits a testosterone boost more so than masturbation. At least in men, I think it has something to do with the concept of winning. It's like the feeling of winning because you're with a partner. It's the same way that your testosterone boosts from watching your sports team win, your favorite sports team win, or winning a game or something. These are all things that can help boost your testosterone, albeit temporarily. So those are all things that you can do. while engaged in a deficit with IF. But a slight deficit isn't going to affect your testosterone levels. Can you tell us about your supernatural experience? You forgot on the Halloween Q&A. This is going to be a long story, so I want to kind of, because I don't want to miss a lot of questions, so I want to kind of keep it as brief as possible. But long story short, my brother had been using a Ouija board. Now, I didn't know he was using a Ouija board. I had no fucking idea he was using a Ouija board. I had been living in Australia, and I came home for a visit over the holidays at this point in time to see my folks, who at the time were in Virginia. And there was, you know, I had an old bed that was being stored in the basement of their apartment. So I decided, well, there's a bathroom down there with a shower and everything I need, and it's quiet, it's private. Use that as my room instead of setting up the room upstairs, the guest room, which I didn't, you know, I just wanted to use my old bed. So when I was down there the first night, I thought my dad had come down to let the dog out, and I felt a presence. I saw something out of my peripheral vision as well. There was a man, but looked like a guy standing behind me in silhouette, because of the bathroom light behind him. So I shot up and turned around, and I was like, "Dad," and there was nobody there. The bathroom door also was propped a little more closed when I turned around than what I had left it. And with a night light, because it's dark down there, to be able to see getting to the bathroom at night. So that's one example. I also heard footsteps on the stairs when no one else was around. When I would call out to them thinking it was my brother, it would start storming up the stairs at me. That happened. Rustling of papers, movement of magnets. A cross was turned upside down on my brother's wall and left a char mark on the wall. Lots of pounding and footsteps when nobody else was home. My dog and cat, my parents' dog and cat, were noticeably freaked out and disturbed and avoided certain rooms. Sounds of things running up walls. I experienced all this, and I don't have an explanation for it. And it went on for the entirety of the time that I was visiting. I came to find that my brother had been using a Ouija board before I had arrived. I was told this after I experienced shit, so it wasn't like I was somehow self-influencing. But that's an example of what I went through. I did go through a supernatural experience. It was really fucked up. I still get the creeps thinking about it to this day. I don't have an explanation for it. So that's in a nutshell what happened. Anyway, moving along. For vegans, 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body weight is enough for cutting. Yes, for cutting and for bulking, either one. The reason I say that is because vegans should take in about 10% more protein per day, just in case of bioavailability issues, like for instance with your legume products, than somebody who is consuming just meat and dairy. So now soy is great. Soy's got higher bioavailability than steak, than beef. But other sources like wheat protein, for instance, or legumes do have a smaller bioavailability. So taking in a little extra protein per day, or in this case, a gram per pound of body weight for leaning out or bulking as a vegan lifter will make sure that you hit your marks. Have I ever gotten dizzy during a workout, and what did I do to prevent it? I did in the early days. I used to have trouble breathing, believe it or not, when I was lifting, because I guess I was lifting more than I should have been rightfully lifting, and I was like holding my breath through the whole movement, and that caused me to get lightheaded and dizzy. The only time since then that it's happened is I was supersetting deadlifts with bench press, incline bench press, and I was doing about 3 or 4 sets of that to failure, and between the sets I had to grab a wall because I almost fell over. Supersetting those 2 exercises. It just was really fucked up experience. But I haven't had that problem since. I just don't superset deadlift and bench press anymore. It probably was just too taxing on my body. Let's see here. What supplements do I take, and which would I recommend? I take beta-alanine, I take beetroot powder, I take creatine, I take beta-ine, a carnitine supplement. These are all vegan, by the way. You can look for vegan versions of all of these. Scissus for my joints. I take a multivitamin. Oh my God, I take so many things. It's hard to fucking go through all of them all. I have vegan essential amino acids, BCAAs, protein powder. Oh my God, it's just the list goes on and on and on. I have for when I do my carb refeeds, I have probiotics, and I have digestive enzymes because I'm eating a lot more food those days, and it helps me go, ease. Otherwise, I'll be farting up a storm the next day. Hey, just saying it like it is. I'm not going to bullshit you guys. To pretty things up here. Yeah, really, I take a lot of stuff. Before bed, I have GABA, which I take with my Cisis for my joints, and I've been taking L-glycine lately as well. Yeah. What do I think of no-fap for boosting testosterone? Okay, this no-fap thing, just not ejaculating for 2 weeks can raise your testosterone, but it's not a significant enough amount to cause you to have, you'll have a higher sex drive. You may lose a little more body fat, but it's not going to cause more muscular gains. And after a 2-week period of not ejaculating, it all flatlines. It all basically just plateaus. It's not like an increase, a continual increase. Ejaculation is very healthy for you. And if you don't ejaculate for prolonged periods of time, your body will emit at night. So, it is sex is healthy for you. Ejaculation is healthy for you. Porn might have some bad side effects if you become addicted to things like that. But and it can affect your life negatively. But sex and orgasm is good for you. It's good for men and women. So I wouldn't avoid that. And if you think you're going to get some kind of like steroid-like testosterone benefit from it, you're mistaken. You're better off just enjoying yourself. If you catch my drift. What's my thoughts on Marcus Rothkranz? I don't even know who the fuck that is. To be honest with you. Let's see here. I mentioned in my video, people who have a high predisposition to high blood pressure and kidney disease should avoid creatine. Most people won't have any adverse side effects with creatine. This is Vegan Gains. He's actually writing this. Hey, Richard, what's up? Congratulations again on betting. I do think that's a good point to make there, that generally speaking, if you're someone of health, you're not going to have problems. I mean, you still should be drinking plenty of water with creatine. I'm just going to put that out there. It is the mode of transport for how creatine gets into your muscles. So drink water, and that can also stave off any. You don't want to be dehydrated anyway. And as an athlete, you should be drinking more water than just the basic daily needs recommended for men and women by like the Institute of Medicine, for instance. Yeah, if you have pre-existing conditions, or you just don't like looking kind of fuller from the creatine, I would maybe avoid it. But if you're generally healthy, I don't see why there'd be a problem with like, a dose of 2.5 to 5 grams a day, basic dose. And it has been shown in vegans to actually improve cognitive abilities. This is not the case in meat eaters. Only in vegans and vegetarians do they see this improvement in cognitive health from creatine intake. So you might even view it like a vitamin to take. It's not a vitamin, but you could view it like something you would take, like a multivitamin for your health. Just 2.5 to 5 grams a day would be a fine baseline dose. Which Diva supplements do you recommend for vegan beginners such as myself? Well, if you're D3 deficient, they make a great D3. B12 is always good to get a hold of, but you don't need to go Diva with that if you don't want to. Diva makes an EPA DHA supplement. It's really good. But so does Doctor's Choice, I think it's called, or Source Naturals. It's a little more affordable. Some of these brands like Diva can be a little bit pricier. If you're having an issue with getting enough K2 or K vitamins in general, or you have just some problem with absorption of K, you might try. But always talk to your doctor first, of course, too. But you can get K2 from Diva brand. There's actually a lot really when it comes to vitamin supplementation, check what you're deficient in, get blood work done. But I still think that B12 should be taken by everyone, full stop. I don't care if you're a meat eater or you're a vegan, take B12. And D3 if you're not getting a lot of sunlight. Or you live in a place where the sunlight is very poor for great parts of the year or year round. Like for instance, if you're in a Nordic country. That's my thoughts on that. So everyone's talking to Vegan Gains right now. It's funny. Do you know I have any quick vegan meals when you're too lazy to cook? It's not that complicated to throw up, to throw on some like extra firm tofu or some like Beyond Meat products or something onto a stovetop with some like broccoli or some spinach or something, and a little bit of like salt or pepper or some other spice to taste, whatever you prefer. Like lavender works nicely for French style dishes, as I mentioned before. That's really simple. You can have that prepared in like under 5 minutes, and it's nutritious. Oh my good God. Who would win a fight, me or the Golden One? I think he does Thai boxing. Golden One does more than Thai boxing. I've talked with Marcus about this. Marcus has actually been involved in the martial arts since he was young, like myself. I might have started before he did, but he has been involved, I believe, in Taekwondo or some form of Kung Fu. So it's not just Thai boxing. He does a number of things. I don't know, but I would absolutely love to train with Marcus if I get the chance. We do a training video together, and I would spar with him as well if I got the chance. I think it would be a lot of fun. So if that ever happens, then you'll see who was the better man on that day. But he's a strong guy, so no hate on Marcus. He's a tough guy. It might be C.T. Fletcher. I'm also thinking of Scott Herman or someone else. I can't remember his name. Oh yeah, God. I'll be looking forward to that one, Richard. C.T. Fletcher's training advice. Oh my good God. Like, and not just his training advice too. What the fuck? Rich Piana did an 8-hour arm workout, I believe, with Mike O'Hearn or something. It was something ridiculous. Somebody did some kind of fucked up arm workout. I keep hearing about it, and that is just absurd. It's absolutely ludicrous. You don't need to be in the gym for 8 hours for any body part in a given session. I get in and out in 60 to 90 minutes tops, and 90 minutes on leg day pretty much is about it. So, and that's unless if the gym is really crowded, then I've got waiting to do, and it might take me up to like, a couple hours. It can, but that's if it's just a really shitty day. Would a vegan ketogenic diet be good for bulking? Now, you can gain muscle on keto, but I don't think it's the best approach for gaining muscle. So but you can gain muscle as keto. It really depends on that's just a hell of a lot of fat to be eating in one day. You might end up with really hard shit. It's just easier in a deficit. You don't have to take as much fat in. I just find that higher fat's fine, but really going really high fat can I don't know, it makes me feel a little queasy. So I don't use keto for bulking. My friend wants to lose weight, but he doesn't know if he should build muscle first or lose fat. Why not just do a recomp? Have him eat his caloric maintenance or 250 calories, below that, and eat plenty of protein and get ample, carbs and fat, and he should train, of course, and get plenty of sleep. There's so many factors to get in there, and he should be able to do a little bit of both. And especially if he's a beginner, he'll gain muscle if he's training right and getting enough nutrient quantity in. Which is better, cyclic keto or strict keto? Like, can CKD be done long term? I prefer CKD for lifting purposes. I like the fact that I can get a refill of glycogen every week, once a week. It's also good for hormones like your hunger hormones and your testosterone even as well. It's better for lifters. Now, if you're an epileptic, the keto diet is actually medically approved for epileptics. So, that's something to give some thought to as well. But if you're just an average person who's healthy, that cyclic keto, if you're a lifter, is really the better approach, in my opinion. But don't have your first carb feed. Don't cycle in your first carb feed until at least 17 or more days of being straight keto to let your body adapt to the ketogenic diet first. Somebody says, hello, Cory. My girlfriend says you look awesome for your age, not talking about physique. Thank you. You can check out my anti-aging videos. But, maybe for my physique too, right? Maybe, I don't know. Whatever. I'll take the compliment anyway. Cory, you never told us your ghost story. I just did earlier in this Q&A. A bit of it, at least. I summarized. Who would win a fight, me or Kino Body? I've seen Greg throw a punch. I would stretch to say I'd probably knock him out pretty quickly. His form is pretty shit. But look, I don't know the guy that well, so who knows? Like I said, different people can win on different days for different reasons. You know, you might not be at your best on a given day, and even somebody who isn't necessarily the greatest fighter might be able to get the advantage on that given day. I've seen it happen. I've done enough full contact fighting, and I've been involved in the full contact circuit with people who are full contact fighters, and I've seen it happen. I've seen some people who I highly respect, who are fellow trainees, that are really great fighters, just get their shit handed to them because they're just having an off day. And, you know, but there's value in losing a fight too. It's not about winning every fight. There's value in losing as well, because you learn from it. You should learn from it. You know, you learn where to improve, where your weak spots are, what you did wrong that day, what you can try to improve for the next time. You know, maybe some psychological thing, like if you're having a stress issue, maybe you can alleviate that before your next conflict, or your next tournament fight, or whatever it may be. So work on your stress or something. Whatever it may be that might have gone wrong, take that time to analyze it and learn from it. Nobody wins everything. Nobody wins all the time. And take it as a learning opportunity. Keto body would lose because he'd be too busy touching his hair. I don't know, guys. That's funny as fuck, though. How do I manage my caloric intake when eating out or traveling? I don't really eat out. Now, there are some exceptions to this. Like, for instance, I'll be doing a video soon where I review Cinnamon Snail. I got some of their donuts this past weekend for my refeed, and it fucking was boss. And I'll be doing a review on Cinnamon Snail. But that's for my refeed, so I don't really count calories on my single refeed day, on a weekly refeed day. But when I'm traveling, what I do is I create a meal plan knowing, I research in advance what I'll be able to get where I'm going, like London, wherever. And I will create a meal plan in advance that I'll take with me, and I'll just buy those things at local grocery stores or whatever, and yeah, make it work. That's how I worked out London. That's how I did Santorini, Greece. That's how I did California. But then in California, it's not foreign, so I kind of knew what to expect with California. And the same thing with like visiting my folks. You know, I know what to expect, so it's not like there's anything that's like it's the U.S. Especially ones that are a little more isolated or a little less developed, like Santorini, which is more of a resort island. Always research what's available and what you should be doing to be prepared. Always be prepared. Prepare. That's what you should always do. Always prepare. Everyone's asking what I think of Richard's latest video about creatine. I already talked about this, and I talked about the blood pressure above with when Richard had commented. Somebody says, because drugs are fun, you're totally forgetting about the effects of drugs. I don't even know what MDMA is. Yeah, look, I don't need to take drugs. I know how bad that shit is for me. I don't need to take drugs to. I have ADHD. I'm fucking crazy enough as it is and impulsive enough as it is. I am like, when I go to a party, I can be the life of a party without being drunk or using drugs. I just have energy, boundless energy, because of my ADHD specifically, the H in there. Although it is more subdued than it was when I was a child. But yeah, I don't need drugs. And I don't think it would do well for me given my ADHD. It would only amplify the effects of that. What is in my protein shake? Well, at the moment it's keto, so not a whole hell of a lot. It's just like a scoop and a half of soy isolate, pea isolate, and rice concentrate blend with some creatine, some EAAs or BCAAs for a little extra leucine kick, and that's really about it. I'll take that with some protein digestive enzymes like aminogen or something, just to help it absorb quicker, and that's about what I do post workout. Cory, have you ever smoked weed? No. I've never done any drug. I've never done any drug. Now, not to say I haven't had a contact high. In college, I was hanging out with a guy who was smoking crack with his girlfriend, and I was in there visiting a friend of mine who just happened to be in the same room, and the windows weren't really open that well. It was poor ventilation, and I felt a bit of a contact high. But I've never directly taken any drugs. with the exception of, I guess, caffeine or like medication for my headache or whatever a doctor prescribes or something like that. What do you think of Stan Efferding saying that sodium is a steroid and that it doesn't cause hypertension? Sodium can cause hypertension in large amounts, but sodium is a steroid? What the fuck is Stan Efferding taking? Look, with the things that Stan's already said about cholesterol and saturated fat for testosterone, when it's actually in the research as just fat, dietary fat intake, not necessarily saturated, he's absurd. He's bro-scientist. He's a bro-scientist. So don't listen to that bullshit. Now, vitamin D is technically a steroid. It is considered that medically. It's considered a steroid hormone. Salt is not. Who says we don't need weed and booze? We all get bored. Whatever, buddy. Don't take offense to it. I just don't like it. What do you think of German volume training? GVT is great for getting a pump, getting a swell, putting on size. I've never used it, but I've heard that it's really shit for strength gains. Likely due to the fact that you're using like I think your 15-20 rep max, and you're only going to failure for 10 reps. You're only going to 10 reps, not necessarily to failure. You're going to 10 reps and repeating it for 10 sets. So what happens is with GVT is you're using your 15-20 max. You're going to 10, your first like 5 or so sets, you're going to feel like you have more in the tank. You're not going to go to failure. You're not going to fail. But those last like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, those last number of sets are going to become increasingly difficult as you wear out with the short rest periods. And GVT does lead to very big pumps. It does lead to growth. It can, but it's really shit for strength gains, I've heard. That's what I've read. People always find the strength is actually down after GVT training, as opposed to a more normal approach. That being said, German body comp training, I think it's GBT is what it's known as, is awesome. It's brutal, but it's pretty fucking awesome for a cut when you're trying to lose weight. It's really good for that. I've done it before, and man, it's a short workout, but it's pretty fucked up. Anyway. So moving along to the next question. Has your skin care regime healed any sun damage? Please expound. Yes. When I was living in Australia, I began showing signs of early aging in my early 20s. That's when I learned about skincare, really, from a girl that I was with at the time. And I began to use it, and basically pretty much instantly, look at a couple weeks, all of the damage that I had caused from being exposed to this brutal sun down there in Australia was gone. And then it was just a matter of maintaining. And even though I'm not with that girl anymore, and it's been a long time, I learned something from that, and I take care of myself. And every day I take care of it. It might seem a bit excessive, but the way I look at it is that, you got one body, why not look the best you can? Why not get the most out of life you possibly can? And listen, we live in a shallow society, really we do, where beauty does have a very high, it is held in high regard. So people who take care of themselves, people who lift weights, it can give you a bit of an edge. And I'm not going to say it's the end all be all, because it certainly is not. Women don't just want a guy who looks good. They want somebody who's got substance as well, and makes them laugh and makes them feel secure and safe. So, so many factors that go into, and I'll be doing a video on women eventually, but there's so many factors that go into the science behind attraction. But taking care of yourself is certainly a plus. It's like the resume. It can get you in the door. It can get you the date. It can get the interest. It can spark the conversation, as opposed to having somebody just turn around and walk away. Now that can happen too. If you get rejected, I just want you all to know this. If you're a guy and you get rejected, don't take it personally. It may just be your timing might just be flawed. Everyone at some point in time has been rejected. Everyone has been rejected at some point in time. Everyone. So never, ever let that get you down. Just pick yourself back up and keep going. And there have been girls that I have been rejected by, and then ended up dating one of them later on. So it does happen, because the timing was wrong. Yeah, moving along. Cory, what's the ideal body fat percentage for both men and women? What are we talking about here? Like just looking good, being healthy? For a guy, I mean, I would say between 10 and 20% body fat, that range is perfectly fine. For a girl, even up as high as like the upper, low 20s to upper 20s would be fine as well. Although they do consider like 35% obese, around 30 to 35% to be getting toward obese. Now, if you just want to look good, but you want to be healthy and maintain your fertility and your hormones, for a guy, 10 to 12%, even as high as 15%, you'll look fantastic. You'll look better than most people, considering how high the obesity rate has jumped in this world. And I mean that in the world, not just in America. As for a girl, 18 to 25%. 18 to 22 will look really athletic as well. But 18, I wouldn't go much below that for your hormones and your fertility. If you care about having a child and having your moods be, and your sleep and everything being in check. What do I think of Unnatural Vegan? I don't really watch her channel, to be honest. I don't really watch a lot of channels. I watch Richard's channel. I watch Golden One. Occasionally I watch Blaha, but I've kind of gotten tired of watching Jason Blaha. I haven't watched Jerry Ward for a long time. I haven't watched Mark Laubliner in a long time. I don't watch Rich Piana. I don't know. I don't really watch a whole hell of a lot of channels to do. I don't really have a lot of time for it. I'd say the consistent ones would definitely be Richards and Golden One are probably the two that I consistently watch and make time for as much as I possibly can. I like their channels. Yeah. No offense to their channels. I just don't have a hell of a lot of time. But if you guys have something you want to recommend to me, shoot it my way, definitely. I have to go to Spain and live with another family for school exchange, so I can't be vegan when I'll be there. Do you think I'll be fucked? Yes, you can be vegan in Spain. Why can't you be vegan in Spain? You can be vegan in pretty much everywhere in Europe. Just shop in the stores. Find the alternatives in the stores. You can find a way to be vegan everywhere. I have found a way to be vegan in Greece. You can find a way on a Greek island, no less. That's to ship their fucking food in. You can find a way to be vegan in Spain. Don't give me that shit. Prepare. Read in advance. People from Spain, Spaniards who know what to expect in a grocery store. Maybe go into a vegan message board and ask about eating vegan in Spain. There is no reason why you can't be a vegan in Spain. Anyway, moving along. Is there a difference between going to sleep at 0 or you mean at 12 a.m. or 3 a.m.? Really, it's about how much cumulative sleep you get. I find that if I go to bed at 1 a.m., but I can get at least 7 to 8 hours sleep, I'm good. If I go to bed at 12 or 10 or even 2 a.m., all of them, as long as I get 7 to 8 hours, I'm good. I think it's more about cumulative sleep, although keeping yourself in a relatively consistent sleep cycle can be beneficial to your circadian rhythm and everything else. It can be beneficial to your health and won't throw you off track. So keep that in mind too, but just make sure you're getting enough sleep per day. Would you do more full day of eating videos? I've done a number of them, but I'll do more if you guys want to see them. I just don't often change my diet all that much, so it might be a little boring. You might be seeing like repeats, a lot, and yeah. Yeah, most meat eater arguments are troll arguments. I recommend, look, there are some people that can get 6 hours of sleep and do fine. It's a rare genetic thing that allows some people to undersleep and be fine. Other folks might need between 8 and 10. If you're a lifter, you might very well need about 10 hours of sleep. If I don't have anything particularly to do in the morning the next day, I'll keep my alarm clock off and let myself sleep in to see, just to get as much sleep as I need. So sometimes it's good just to let your body get what it needs, and don't interrupt that. Let's see here. Cory, what is your training routine like? At the moment, it's based on all the research I've been reading about with mechanical tension, metabolic stress, and muscle damage. So that involves rep ranges and stretch reflexes and slow negatives sometimes, and exercise selection and rest periods and all. There's a lot of things. It's all the Vegan Muscle Academy. Actually, I put it all in the Vegan Muscle Academy for my clients as well. And you'll see it in my arm training video. You'll see that broken down as well. But my training routine really is, there's a couple days in the week where I go heavy as fuck. And then a couple of days to 3 days in the week where it's just like upper lower hypertrophy days. So the heaviest fuck days more focus on mechanical tension, which is heavier work through full range of motion. And the other days, the later days in the week, I will focus on hypertrophy. So what I do is I'll focus on things like muscle damage and metabolic stress. So some higher reps, moderate reps, stretch reflex, slow negatives here or there, rest periods between 1 and 2 minutes, sometimes drop sets for metabolic stress. So I have like that. I have like a hypertrophy part of the week and a heavy part of the week. Typically upper lower, upper lower. I like upper lower splits. Or push pull as well works well. And that's how I currently train. Yeah. Hope that answers your question. Let's see here. What else? Oh God, there's a lot of freaking questions popped in. Good range of fat intake for health, 20 to 35% of your maintenance needs. Yeah, Master Ray replied already. He knows what I'm going to say. He already knows my answer. He's a regular, so he would know my answer. I won't recommend having sex due to STDs, abortion, and adoption. There are, you don't need abortion if somebody doesn't get pregnant. You can use protection. You can use birth control if you need to. If STDs don't, I didn't say sleep around. I'm not recommending people be promiscuous. I'm not a many woman kind. I'm a one woman kind of guy, and I'm not recommending you guys be anything different than that. So be with somebody you trust who's not stepping out on you. Engage in safe sex practices still for the fact of getting pregnant or whatnot, and all that. Like there's nothing you don't. Sex doesn't have to lead to STDs and pregnancy necessarily. In this day and age, just be smart about it. You don't have to be a celibate to, prevent those things. Am I the only one in my family that is vegan? Yes, I am, unfortunately. I keep trying to plant the seed, but it is what it is. How does increasing fat intake while not consuming oils help acne? Some people are just more prone to acne, and higher fat intake can cause that. But I still don't think you should drop your fat below 20% of maintenance. That's actually not a whole hell of a lot of fat. Your maintenance needs 20% above your maintenance needs, calorie needs, that is. That's not a whole hell of a lot of fat intake, and it's good for your hormones. So that's my opinion on that. And if you don't want to eat oils, don't consume oils. Get things like avocados, flax seeds. There's fat in tofu. There's seeds and nuts and nut butters and seed butters. And there's so many ways to get fat that you don't have to get it from oil. Has your skincare regime helped heal sun damage? Yeah, it has. I would say like the ones that promote collagen growth, like your vitamin C based products. Definitely, I mean, that's going to help keep your skin supple and tight and regenerate. There's so many, there's other things like your vitamin E's and aloe vera and things like that are all mixed in these moisturizers that can help reduce the wrinkling effects. They even use plant stem cells in some of them. Now, I don't know the science behind that, if it's all legit, but I have noticed a benefit from using these products. And it just keeps my skin, my pores clean as well, which can prevent acne and other sorts of skin damage and blotching. Anyway, some of these questions are repeating. What they asked, CKD or straight keto. It's CKD, I prefer it for weightlifters. Dude, your brother summoned a spirit. Who you gonna call? I didn't call anyone. I just got the fuck out of there. My trip ended and I left, and that was the last of that shit. And yeah, that was a pretty fucking weird experience. I'm not a religious person, okay? I'm agnostic, but still, what I experienced, that was pretty fucking weird. I'm not saying it was a demon. I don't know what the hell it was, but that was a pretty fucked up experience. And the thing is, I'm used to horror films too. I'm very hardened to that kind of crap. I just watched Lights Out. Everyone kept recommending Lights Out to me as being as scary as the Babadook, but I didn't even find Babadook that scary. So I watched Lights Out. Apparently, I thought it was gonna be so scary, and I was like, you know, finally a movie that might actually freak me out. And I watched Lights Out, and it didn't do shit for me, really. It wasn't a bad movie, but my God, it wasn't that scary. But what I experienced firsthand, now granted, this was in person, this was live. What I experienced firsthand at my folks' place, that fucking, there was a few times I wanted to piss my pants. Let's be honest here. When there's something walking up the stairs at you, you call out for it, there's no response, and it begins thumping on the stairs, and there's no one down there. It's a basement. That's fucked up. That's all I'm going to say. That, and I was up late. I was awake at like 2 a.m. And I was on the computer, and so it was fucked. That was fucked up. I was all by myself, and that was some fucked up shit. I'll never forget it. But anyway, moving along. Do you have any advice for lean bulking? Yeah, just, you know, get enough protein intake and don't overdo your calories. Like 10% over your maintenance should be fine. Supersetting deadlifts. I don't even think powerlifters superset their deadlifts. Now, then again, I'm not a powerlifter, so I don't know if that's what they do or not, but I think they focus on one lift at a time with their training. Like they'll focus, they're not going to be doing a bench with a deadlift back and forth in the same cycle of repeating sets like a bodybuilder would. But that's just, I don't know, maybe they do, but I'm not a powerlifter. But yeah, I, for whatever reason, thought that would be a good idea, and man, it was brutal. Some people. Would I ever fuck a dude? No, I actually am not bi-curious at all, never have been. Just not my thing. Do I hate people who are meat eaters? No, I don't hate meat eaters. I just think they need to be educated. You know, that's my opinion on that. I don't hate them. We all were meat eaters at one time. Most of us at least were. Probably the majority of us. And we just became educated and we made the switch. So you know, veganism should be for everyone. I don't think all men have nocturnal emissions like Buddhist monks, I guess. How do you know Buddhist monks have emissions? Very well do. Ask a monk, you know, by the way, do you blow a load at night? I'm not going to ask that question. Anyway. How much would I spend on skincare per month? This is going to be like the last question here because my computer's about to crap out again. And we've been doing this for about an hour. I'd say probably about like 25 to 50 bucks, depends on what kind of deals or discounts I get, where I buy them at. Amazon tends to be pretty affordable. Swanson Healthcare, Vitamins Shop online, the Swanson Vitamin Store online tends to be pretty affordable and usually has coupon codes. But it can be between 25 and 50. And those little containers, they can last a while. You don't need a whole hell of a lot of product. A little product can go a long way. And, you know, like a container of the mud might last me a month. And the eye cream that's like fucking 25 bucks on its own can last me up to 2 months. I just use a little dab of it. You don't need a lot, just eye cream. And the moisturizer about a month. And you know, shop around, find a good deal. Anyway, I'm gonna cut it off here. You guys, we'll be doing obviously another Q&A next week as usual, and I'll see you all there. Thanks for stopping by. Take care.